Orlando Pirates and Mamelodi Sundowns played a 1-1 draw, but what were the tactics behind the stalemate that some people have described as boring? So we will look at Sundowns in attack, we'll look at Pirates in attack, we'll look at all these other changes and how Sundowns were able to stop Pirates from doing the things that they usually do so well, and how Pirates actually adapted to look much better in the second half. So let's start with Orlando Pirates. So usually what Pirates usually have is this front three of Mahopa right here, Moremi right here, and Apolis, with Mahopa's responsibility being dropping to kind of collect the ball and release the pace of Moremi and Apolis in behind against big teams, because against small teams they're usually close to each other, and then you'll also find Lebitso here pushing into these areas, and on top of that you'll find Uhoto also on the left hand side pushing all the way. But this was not the case in this game, because what you'd find more often than not is that they would try to find these three up front as quick as possible. But now if you look at this, they're outnumbered. There is how many Sundowns players here? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 against 3. And there is a problem, because now that means it's 5 against 3 against a very good team, and you are not going to get much joy. But that does not mean sometimes Hoto did not go forward, because he did go forward. But in this case, as you can see, Moremi is staying behind because he was there to collect the ball much earlier. But you're still finding yourself with the same problem. Your 3 players are isolated, and then here, Mahopa ends up getting a shot. It wasn't a bad shot, but he was under a lot of pressure. And you see this happening over and over again. Pirates having 3 attackers isolated against a lot of Sundowns defenders, so it wasn't as effective. And you also see it here. This is like the classic example of why this thing went wrong, because 3 attackers, 5 defenders. And then once you are here, usually in other games, you will find a police here who would be here, Lebitso. But in this case, you don't even see Lebitso in the frame, because he's further back, because they were cautious with how they were adding numbers forward, because you are playing against Sundowns and they might always hurt you. And you see it here once Pirates did the right thing when they added numbers. Now Sundowns are all over, because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Pirates players who are going up front, and then Sundowns are also defending. So since they are stretched and there's like 3 players who are central, Mutau right here is also pulled in centrally. And since it's pulled centrally, that means Uhoto, who's now wide, can receive the ball. And in him receiving the ball, unfortunately, he does the unthinkable. He misses. Could play that ball across, but he chooses to hit it first time, and then he misses. I think Undaba will be benching Uhoto a lot, because the fans are growing impatient with him, but at the same time now he's not helping himself. But if you're enjoying the video, please do make sure to subscribe to the channel. Which brings us to the next thing, and that is second half. Second half, you can see there were much more Pirates players up front, and they were passing the ball. This pass alone made me see why Danson started this game. Forget his goal, because the ability to like locate a pass in this small space, and it does, and then the ball just goes through, and then Pirates are now in a 4v4, but then their decision making wasn't that great. Second half was actually better for Pirates, because you can also see here Usiema receives the ball, and then he plays a 1-2, he combines with Unemtajela, and then he's through. But when he's 1v1 with the keeper, you are not a striker, with all due respect. I feel like the ball should have been played across, and this would have been an easy goal. But on replay, we saw that Siema did not even look up once to see who's across him, which is weird, because this is the same player who started a run from this deep, combined here, continued with his run, because here he is about to receive the ball. So I don't understand why. I think he just saw highlights on TV, and it wasn't, good enough. And here is Pirates pressing Sundowns and forcing them to go back, and they end up getting a chance, because Umahopa shoots here, and then it was a save by the keeper. But it was even better in the second half because Pirates were much more aggressive in pressing them and in trying to win the ball back. This is why I think Wadu is a good coach, because I think the tactics and the approach by Wadu in the first half was supposed to be the same as it was in the second half, but the players were scared. And then he told them, go get them. Because in the second half, Pirates were much bolder in pressing and trying to go forward. Like in this case, the ball is pressed from Cupido, and then the next thing you know, Pirates are in and they are close to goal, but then Umremi, his shot is not good enough. If we continue looking at this, Pirates in most cases they were going long and trying to win second balls, as I said in the first half, because it seems like they were scared. So if you have Mahupa Vele, this is going to work for you, because from those second balls, then you can fight for the ball and end up finding yourselves in such positions. But then this pass was overcooked by Apolis, and then Muremi does not get on the ball. But sometimes in kicking the ball, the target was to try and get in behind the defensive line of Sundowns because they were pressing really high. But it just did not work because, you can't always depend on long balls. And then I cannot talk about the goal. I mean, what a strike. That's all I can say. I hear people saying Ronan Williams did not dive. Dive where? Dive where? Like you saying Ronan Williams was supposed to dive and do what? How was he going to save? You see that rocket? It goes through, like there are people who are standing in front of him as well. So by the time the ball is here, this is the only time he's thinking about diving. But it's too late. No keeper is saving that. I bet you no one is saving that. But let's look at diagonals in the second half, because Pirates uses diagonals a lot. Well, they've used them less as the season has progressed, but they are still effective. But they did not do diagonals in the first half. Until the second half, you started seeing Siema, you started seeing Mbogazi playing diagonals, which do put them in dangerous areas. And the reason why they were not actually playing diagonals in the first half is because you have a team like Sundowns who are basically pressing you high, and then the only way that you can try to play the ball is direct from a keeper. And sometimes what Pirates will do, they'll play the ball to their centre back, and then the centre backs play diagonals. But in the first half, Sundowns were not allowing them to play at all. So then the keeper is the one who had to play the long balls, as I've already shown. So now let's look at Sundowns in their way of playing. So Sundowns were clearly the team that saw themselves as protagonists. They are league champions. They're on top of the league. Look at their defenders, how high they're starting. This is how Pirates will usually be set up in games in terms of the centre back pairing being the two who are building, and then the full backs occupying the white spaces, because they were like, let's push Pirates back, make sure that even when they get the ball, they are scared, because there's always, even if Mtao comes back here, they are still left with someone like Sales who's very dangerous, or on that other side, they're still left with Matthews who's here. So they were very much pushing Pirates back. And this approach of theirs, if you once again look, it did not really yield much, because as much as Ushalulile was in that area, he's not dropping into midfield to combine with the other players. But the idea of him being offside on purpose like this is because he knows, look at the overload by Sundowns in the middle. Like, look at how many Sundowns players are there. There's 4 of them, and then there's also the 5th one, which is Usales, because he'll also drop. But they just did not utilize this because, one, Pirates were good at blocking the middle, because as you can see, they are not really pressing high, Pirates, but what they are doing, they are pressing in areas where they see that, well, Sundowns might be dangerous, because the next thing you know, if they do this well, maybe it's one pass going back, it's one pass going through, then the next thing you know, it's a through ball to Shalulile. But Pirates were very good in making sure that there are no passes that are happening in the middle. So kudos to Pirates. But what did work for Sundowns is the pressure that they applied. Like, look at this. Everyone has a man marking him. Even if the ball was about to be played to Siema, Matthews was very quick to close him down and make sure that they did not play. And this did not just happen once, because if they had to commit a foul, Sundowns, they would even commit a foul to win the ball back and make sure it's a tactical foul. That's the term that is used. So eventually Pirates ended up just going long because they saw that they couldn't play through the middle. And then when they did try to do that, we see this in a goal. Look at that. Everyone is marked by at least one player. I say at least one player because some of them are even double marked. Like, look at Allende. He's ready for Umahopa. Should Mahopa receive the ball, Allende is jumping on him. But at the same time, you have Aupas here ready to jump on Mahopa if he gets the ball. So now they are under immense amount of pressure. And then when the ball is eventually played, the press is there, the ball is overturned, Sundowns are in. And then to see how Pirates were structurally poor in their build-up, look at how long it takes for them to recover. Sales has the ball. He plays it to Shalulile. Shalulile shoots. He falls. He stands up. He's still able to finish the chance. And even if he didn't, there is Matthews behind him who was going to finish the chance. But this just goes to show that structurally, this did not make sense for Pirates. They were just overwhelmed, and that is why they were conceding, giving away position like this. You even see this even with Uhoto here. Has the ball, he passes it, but then they block it, they intercept it, and then now they are defending. If Shalulile sees that there's a man behind him, he passes that ball, and Sundowns score the goal much earlier in the game. But they did not. Which brings us to another factor, which is Ronwen Williams. I think for all the goals that he concedes, right, he doesn't concede all that much because he has a good team. But when he does, that's a talk of a town. But I think we don't talk enough about this. Look at the distribution of Williams. Like, he's a goalkeeper, and his passes are better than some of the players who actually play outfield. Like, pinpoint passes that this man makes is just crazy, and I feel like there's too much disrespect. You think a keeper is supposed to be under pressure here, but no. He finds a pass through the middle, risky, yes, but he has eliminated 3 players at one go. Here again, he sees that pass, smallest gap, he finds it, he plays that pass. Again, in this case, the ball is played, but what ends up happening, and I think this is the core problem that Sundowns have. If you remember, I talked about Shalulile setting up as if he's offside on purpose. Now here where I put this red thing, this is where Shalulile is supposed to be occupying defenders. And the space in the middle, Abo Santos, Nabo Sales are the ones who are supposed to be drifting in and out and around these spaces because Shalulile is not that great at playing the ball. But more times than not, you see him trying to drop into this area. And with him dropping, Santos is trying to find him and he's no longer there. And it was the case with most of Sundowns' moves. Sometimes the ball is played into the near post. You find Shalulile running near post. You find his other striker doing the same thing, which I think is not what Cardoso was trying to see because, as you saw in their shape earlier, they want their striker to stay as close to the goal as possible. But how did you guys see this game? Do let me know down on the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.